You're now tuned into the Brown Note Experience radio show. With the first half of the show, it's Let's Talk Business, sponsored by Brown Note Books and Promotions, with host Miss Margaret Lee Brown.
Experience radio show. My name is Margaret Lee Brown, and I am your host for Let's Talk Business. My guest tonight is Dr. Ricardo Fraizer. He is a retired professor of psychology and author of 20-plus books, a prolific oil painter, a photographer, percussionist, and guitarist, and the author of The Month with Brown Note Books, and my dear friend. Hello, Ricardo.
Hello, Margaret. Very happy to be here.
Okay, we're happy to have you. What a list of accomplishments. And we're going to try to get through a few of them, okay?
Okay.
All right. And we're going to take each one and share with the listening audience, because I believe that you have something to offer to someone that's listening out there that might work in this field or around this field or interested in information around the field. So we're going to come back in just a few minutes, and we're going to share some of those accomplishments with the audience.
Excellent.
We're back here with Dr. Fraizer. He doesn't like for me to call him Dr. Fraizer. He says, just call me Ricardo. But I think he's earned the right to be called Dr. Fraizer. Before we get into your accomplishments, I would like for you to tell the listening audience how we met, because I think it's an interesting story, because it has a lot to do with my first book.
Okay, I'll say a few things about it and you can fill in.
Okay.
A mutual friend of ours, Samuel, invited me to come and hear you speak at his house, and he told me that you were into intuitive work and metaphysics and things of that nature, which I'm also very interested in, and so I was eager to see you.
Okay.
And I saw that you were speaking about your books and about your work, and it was a very special experience.
And we've been friends ever since, right?
Since that day.
Yes, absolutely. How does it feel to be a retired professor?
It's shocking. I didn't really expect to retire when I did.
Uh-huh.
It was more circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels great to have had that experience and have gotten to the top of my field.
Tell them a little bit about what you taught and what your expertise was when you were a professor.
I taught psychology courses and a little bit of art, visual art, and a variety of psychology courses. I'll mention a few. I taught African American psychology, developmental psychology, abnormal psychology, and a few more.
Okay. And how do you think that has helped you? You know, when those of us that help others in counseling or psychology or what the case may be, we find that we get a lot of help from our own work, right?
Absolutely. Learning about yourself is the basis of all knowledge. And it's hard to teach and study psychology without learning about yourself.
And boy, you should have never told me that, because then I started calling you every day, right?
Close to it. Not every day, once in a while. But
once in a while, right?
We had some pretty deep conversations.
Yes, we have, yes. Now, 20 plus books. How did that happen?
I don't really
How
know
did
how
you
that
have
happened.
time to do that, being a professor as well?
I love to do it. I love to write. I love to get into the flow of it. So it's fun.
Okay. And you have some beautiful covers too. I wish you all could see some of the covers of these books. And that has to be, in most cases, your artwork. Is that not
A lot of
correct?
cases.
Yes,
It's
okay.
my artwork.
Yes. And so many different topics. You know, that's what I like about your books. They're not all the same. They're different with different topics, different subjects. And what do you do in the process? Maybe there's a writer out there or author out there that's looking for direction in their writing. So tell us what your process is.
It just comes to me. You know, I'm getting ideas all the time, and I just get started. And as I go, more and more information comes to me. It's just getting in the flow and letting it happen and feeling confident and courageous and going for it.
Now, we know you do workshops and so forth, and we're going to be doing some with you.
That would be great.
I got something booked for you soon, and we'll tell the audience about it.
Wonderful.
Where they can come and they can learn from you. You're still being a professor.
Absolutely.
Only on your time.
Yes, on my time.
Also, you are a prolific oil painter. Tell us about that and how that came about.
How that came about? Well, that came about early on in life. My father loved art and hung a lot of artwork around the house, and it drew me in. And then he encouraged me to paint on the walls and, you know, things like that. And I got started just on my own.
Now, I know you have your son here in the studio with you, and I think he's an artist too as well. I've seen some of your paintings. Yes, you're doing very well, following in your father's footsteps and developing your own person. Yes, absolutely. When he's doing this, do you encourage it, or do you just let him do his thing, or do you feel like you have to be a teacher at that time, or do you just let the art just flow as it comes?
You know, well, I think all of us are artists. It's just a matter of getting into it, and I pulled him into it, got him started, and I think he's going to be a far better artist than I am.
Great, that's wonderful. Boy, I remember when he was a little boy, and looking at him now, I just can't believe he's as tall as he is. Oh, my goodness. So tell me about some of the things that affect you in your writing. I know a lot about you personally, so I won't kibitz away at lots of things, but I will share with the audience that, you know, he goes with the flow, I know, with things that are going on in his life, because we talk often. And so I can always tell when a book is coming, because you're talking about that book. And,
Okay.
and is that part of the process in doing your books?
Yes, it is, very much so. I get ideas from interacting with other people. Yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine, and he started to talk about Jamaica, and we started going more and more into it, and next thing you know, that subject was on my mind as a topic for a book.
Okay. And why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your background and where you're from and your connection to Jamaica, as you say?
Okay, well, I was born in Jamaica. Lived there for a few years before my family moved to Grand Cayman Island. Lived there about 5 years, and then me and my sisters alone traveled to Jamaica, then got on a plane in Jamaica and flew to New York City and hooked up with my parents in New York City.
That's a very interesting story. Can you share a little bit of that? Because I think that's a book within itself.
Well, I have written a little bit about that. I recently wrote a book about, it's centered on my grandmother.
Yes.
And I talked about some of her early experiences in Cuba and how they moved from Cuba to Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very interesting, actually.
I enjoyed writing it, and that was a lot of fun.
So you think that's going to be another book that you're going to tell a little bit more about? Do you find I'm starting to find the older that I get, the more I draw from things that happened when I was young. I think I was sharing that with my Teresa earlier this evening about how I'm starting to remember things, just little things about my childhood that I had forgotten about. Do you think that happens when you get, being a psychologist, do you think that happens when you get older? Do you start to dwell back into those beginnings and things, little things that happen? that actually get you to where you are today?
I think so. I think that we're always reliving our life and always reconstructing the past. And I think that gives a lot of meaning to our lives. I think we want to understand the big picture of our lives. And part of understanding that is looking backwards.
Being psychology as my background, do you find that we have a tendency to overanalyze things and overanalyze ourselves, or how do you process all that?
Well, I think that I know I do a lot of reflecting, and a lot of psychology is incorporated into how I think about myself. I think that it's pretty common.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's another part of this list of accomplishments that I know a lot about, and we're going to talk about that after the break.
Okay.
Tune in to the Brown Note Experience radio show each and every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Now, they'll talk about business as well as celebrity spotlight from 6 p.m. until 7 each Wednesday evening. Join your hosts, Miss Margaret Lee Brown and Mr. Maurice Miller. It's the Brown Note Experience radio show, 6 p.m. Wednesday nights, right here on WIGO.
Okay, we're back here with Dr. Fraizer. I like to call him Dr. Fraizer when I can get away with it. So I think he's earned the right to be called that, okay? Now, also on your list of accomplishments, we have a percussionist and guitarist. Now, I know a lot about that because you used to perform at my jazz club, Jazzy Brown's, and it amazed me when I saw you walk in with this instrument and decided that you want to play with us, and that was a part of you at that point I did not know about. And then after that, I was calling you every weekend to come and perform. So tell me how music, or tell the audience, how music relates to you at this period of time in your life.
It's still a big part of my life. I don't play that often, and I don't perform that often, but there are occasions, and I'm always ready for it and always eager to do it, and I love to do it. Like most people, I love music, and I love the opportunity to be a part of it.
So you can do all these things and still find the time to have fun playing music. I think that's wonderful, but don't you think that's just a part of who you are, just like the painting and all the other things that you do? It's just, and so we as people can have more things going on in our lives than we think. Some people think they just need to focus on the one thing. I went to college and learned how to do this, and so this is what I'm doing in life. And then I'll say to the person, well, what else do you do? Do you have any hobbies? And a lot of people are stuck because that's what they went to college to learn how to do, and so that's all they do. So tell the listening audience how important it is to have other activities in your life, that other than just your basic job or what you were sent here to do. Have activities like music and art and those kind of things, and how they can help from a psychological standpoint.
I think that wholeness is something that brings so much to our lives, and I try to be a whole person, and doing many different kinds of things enhances my understanding of myself, and it enriches my life.
Now, a little birdie told me that you're going to be performing somewhere soon. Is that something you can share with us this evening, or?
Well, I can't share the specifics, but
okay. Planning
to perform with a good friend of mine on guitar at Atlanta Metropolitan State College.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And do you find, because you are a professor, that you like to go back and give to the kids or to the young people that you've have taught, in your classes? And do they find it interesting when they see you playing and maybe you had been their professor at one point or another?
Very much so. I love doing it, and they love having me there, and it's very, very enlivening, and they are surprised. and we just have a good time.
So will you come back and or give us information so we can share with the audience as to where they can hear you perform?
Absolutely.
Okay. And we're going to have you also doing some book signings and some lectures and workshops on some of the topics of your book. And I want to, speaking of topics of your book, I want to just share a couple of books. Petals of Love. I think it's such a beautiful book. And we're going to promote this book during Valentine because it's called Petals of Love. And tell us what this book is about. Give us a little information about this book.
Well, one of my publishers suggested to me that I should do a compilation of my poetry and my visual art, since he knew I was into both of those, and I took the opportunity to do that.
And then you just handed me a book that I'd not seen. I thought I had all your books. I think you're holding out on me, Ricardo. I mean, you know, I got a little more space left in my bookcase.
Okay, I'm kind of holding out on the world.
Oh. So is this a special book or a new book? Our Journey is Our Destination. What a title. So tell me about this book. What is this book about? I've just gotten it for the first time.
It's relatively new. You just mentioned the subtitle, and the main title is African Cosmology. And African Cosmology, for me, goes back to a dear friend of mine who recently passed, Kalan Phil Karan, a musician, jazz musician, long-time jazz musician, mainly based out of Chicago. He was always talking about African cosmology, and it just pulled me deeper and deeper into that topic, and I knew at some point that I would sit down and really explore that topic.
So explain that word. That sounds like an interesting word that I should know about. So tell me about that.
Okay. Well, African cosmology as opposed to European cosmology. The standard cosmology deals with the physical universe. African cosmology deals with everything. So it gets into the spiritual as well as the physical.
So can you give a little bit about the spiritual? Because, you know, I'm into spiritualism. So I like to always hear about things that are spiritual. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think spirit is what connects all of humanity, and Africans saw spirit as the unifying force among all Africans. And I tended to focus on Egyptian spirituality in this book. Egyptian spirituality being the classical form of cosmology for African people.
See, this is why you got to come to one of his lectures and workshops, so you can get all this information, because he's very deep when it comes to this sort of information. And I think the book is beautiful. It's always nice to have covers that jump off the shelf. So I think I need to have that one on my shelf.
You do.
Next to the other ones.
I'll sign it today.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your new book. I know you said you had another book that you're working on now, or your book about gardening. That's one I'm interested in too as well. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Okay, that's Revelations for Holistic Gardening.
Right.
And you mentioned that I'm now retired. And as I mentioned, retirement was kind of a surprise, and I love going outside. I love being in nature. And so shortly after retiring, I was outside my backyard, and it hit me that I needed to dig a pit and start a fire. I didn't know why, but I dug a pit, I started a fire, and then I started clearing the forest. I had essentially a half acre of forest in my backyard, and I started to just pull stuff out of there, mostly kudzu, but all kinds of bush and shrub, and put it in the fire and started burning it. And I just kept doing that day after day after day after day, and eventually that forest was clear. And then I started to turn it into a garden. And then I started to create separate gardens, all kinds of gardens, like vegetable gardens, herb gardens, fruit trees. And
now, where does that come from? What makes you all of a sudden decide, I want to do a garden? Or is this something you've been doing all along, or you started a little bit and it just grew into something bigger?
Well, I have a history. My father gardened and pulled me into gardening and would set things up and make me do the work. So I kind of had it in me. And then when I was an undergraduate at University of Connecticut, I started out as a biology major, and it was a bit theoretical for me at that time. I wanted to be more practical, so I walked over to the School of Agriculture and asked them what they had going on, and I started a major in environmental horticulture, and I completed that, so I have that background.
I know you have an interesting background in regards to your studies. Tell the audience some of the universities that you've attended and the things, the fellowships and so forth. I think they need to know a little bit more about you, so they'll come to when we have your event, and they'll be happy to come and experience it with you.
Okay, well, I started out at the University of Connecticut, and as I mentioned, I did a bachelor's degree in environmental horticulture. And when I finished that, I knew I wasn't finished with undergraduate work, and I walked over to the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and I signed up for a degree in psychology. And after I completed that, I started doing some graduate work at the University of Connecticut, which led me to Harvard University, and I got involved in a program in counseling and consulting psychology. Completed that, and spent about 5 years living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and hanging out with a guru named Carmu. Mm-hmm. And eventually, Carmu said, well, it's time for you to move on. And I went back to graduate school, and I got a master's degree and a PhD in industrial organizational psychology from Bowling Green State University.
Do you find sometimes your brain feels tired from doing all this?
A lot of the time. My brain is kind of tired,
right,
but I got to keep going.
And that's where music comes in. So that's exactly a way to relieve something.
Very much so.
Yes. Now, I know your son. How old is your son?
He's 14. Daniel's 14.
So are you pushing him to do all of this stuff that you've done, or he's shaking his head yes over there in the corner?
Well, I'm his model, and I don't really have to push him. He'll just do it.
Right.
He's already a published author. He has a book on Amazon, and
I gotta have you on the show. Listen to this, okay?
Yeah, he's a writer, and he just brought that book to me one day with fully illustrated and the whole story all developed, and I was the one who just kind of got it published.
Wow, I'm so proud of you. Last time I saw him, he was a little boy, and when he walked in today, I was shocked. He's almost as tall as me, but that's wonderful, because I know your journey and your story with your son, and I think it's so nice to see that he's carrying on the legacy. Okay?
Absolutely.
But you're not going to put a lot of pressure on him, are you?
No, I don't really look at it that way. I think just me doing what I do, then he sees me doing it and wants to do it.
So I like to ask this question of people that come on my segment of the show. There's somebody out there listening today that I feel that you can help or give direction or just, just speak what you feel that you'd like for them to hear from you today.
Well, I have also been a psychotherapist. That's been a passion of mine. And we are going through a lot of stuff right now. The world needs healing, and we all need healing. And so I think that we can be hopeful.
You think so?
Yeah, there's a whole other timeline, and it's filled with love, and we have to hold that vision.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. I was going to call you next week to talk to you about that, but now that you're talking about it on the show, I can talk about something else. Right?
Okay.
Ricardo, we so enjoy having you on the show today. And if you would like to purchase any of Dr. Fraizer's books, go to brownnotebooksandpromos.com. Again, brownnotebooksandpromos.com. And we're going to be scheduling a book signing for him soon, and a lecture and a workshop. So you just have to listen to the show and go to our website, and we'll let you know what's happening. Thank you again for coming on the show today, and we're going to have you back on soon.
Sounds great to me.
Okay, because we got a lot of other things we can talk about.
Absolutely.
Because you've done a lot of things. But again, thank you for being my guest today, and appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
That's right. Michael Brown, Africa. That's right. I was caught up in a daze, but when reality hit me in my face, I know my heart was shattered all over the floor. But when you left me, I never back for more. Are you gonna give me what I want, babe? Did I make you see